What is title insurance and why do you need it? Stay tuned. We're talking to a title guru.
Welcome to Community Real Estate Roots, Agents Building Relationships, where we explore the heart of real estate through meaningful connections. Join Alicia, Deidre, and Lisa as they guide you through stories behind every sold sign and dive into how agents nurture communities, one home and one relationship at a time.
Welcome back. So we're going to talk about title insurance and why do you need it. So today we are talking with Hannah with Signature Title. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here. That is a very good question because there are so many pieces in the buying a home puzzle that is often something that is not addressed till right before closing when you're trying to line up moving trucks and utilities and get, your last few pay stubs to your lender and all that.
And it can stop at closing.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you get your settlement statement, you start going through fees, and you see a line that says title insurance, it says optional next to it. You think, I've never heard of this, so obviously I don't need it. And, there's insurance for everything these days, and you see these cheesy commercials when you're watching the news about Title Walk and all this other stuff. Title insurance is not one of those cheesy, unnecessary things. It is just as important as your homeowner's insurance or your car insurance because it is protecting one of the biggest investments that people make. And so when you reach out to us to get started with purchasing a home, we're going to do a title search. And when we do that title search, we're checking the public records to see is the person who's selling this home have the authority to do so?
Right.
Are they the only sellers, the only ones with ownership? Are there any liens against the property, be it voluntary liens like mortgages or involuntary liens like tax liens and judgments? So we're checking all that out on the front end, but all we can see is what's public record, what's been recorded. There could be things floating around out there that haven't been recorded yet, that no one knows about, or that are simply missed on the title search. And that's where your title insurance is going to come in. It's a one-time premium paid at closing. It's not like monthly insurance that you pay for. You pay it one time at closing, and then you have that title insurance forever. Even after you sold the house, if something were to come back, you still have that policy. And so what that's going to protect you from are the issues that I went over. It's going to protect you from fraud, judgments and liens, anything that's going to affect the title to the property and your interest in it. And, it's a few $100s to protect a very, very big purchase you're making. So it's worth it. Like I said, you pay it one time at closing. And I can sit here all day and tell you horror stories. And stories about people that came back and had issues and wish they had bought title insurance and they didn't. But I don't want to take up the whole podcast, being a Debbie Downer and scaring your audience. But like I said, it is very legit. It is something that is very important and needed. And it's just like all insurance. You hope you're never going to have to use it. But if you ever get in a situation, you're going to be really glad that you have it. Exactly.
So what you're saying is I could buy a house. I could close on that house. I decided I wanted to opt out of the title insurance. And I'm there for 3 years, and all of a sudden I get this notification at the door that someone's filing a lawsuit against my house on something that happened before I bought my house. What's going to happen to me?
What's going to happen to you is you're going to have to go to court and fight it on your own. You're going to have to hire an attorney. You're going to have to pay court fees. You're going to be in that battle alone. If you have title insurance and it's one of the covered risks, then you're going to file a claim with the title company, and they're going to fight that battle for you. And generally, like I said, as long as it's covered, they're going to make that right for you. And a lot of times people get confused when you're getting a loan. The lender requires lender's title insurance. That policy does not cover you as the homeowner. So if there were any things that affect title and the lender filed a claim, it's going to make the lender whole. It's not going to make you whole or protect you. That's a common mistake. I've even had lenders tell their clients before, you don't need owner's title insurance because we're getting a loan policy. But you as the homeowner are provided no coverage under that loan policy.
Well, and I would say there's a reason why you've got lenders and owner's title policy, two separate things. If the lender is making you do it, it's a requirement, you probably want to get it too.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the lender is forcing that to be on there to protect themselves. And then probably a lender tells you not to do it because of what, they just want to probably make their numbers look a little bit better on the front end. But absolutely, I don't think I've ever had a client not get owner's title policy ever.
Yeah, I've been in the business for about 15 years now. I can count on one hand the amount of deals where I've had people not get owner's title insurance, and it doesn't say these exact words, but we make them sign a whole bunch of paperwork telling them how stupid they are for not getting it. It's a little nicer than that, but it's opening yourself to a huge risk, and especially today when there's just so much fraud out there, and it's everywhere, and they're getting smarter and smarter with what they're coming up with and what they're doing, and the housing market and purchase and sales and wires, that is what's being targeted so heavily right now. And that's just another way you can protect yourself when it comes to fraud. There's an agent that I work with quite a bit. I've worked with her forever, and she's been in the business 100 years. Her favorite story to tell is the couple in Anniston where a seller brought his girlfriend to closing, and the girlfriend signed as the wife, and him and the girlfriend ran off with the money.
Oh, wow.
And then all of a sudden you've got this wife who hasn't sold the house, and this buyer that's paid for it, and
nor gave permission to.
And that's another big thing that's happening right now that we're seeing with fraud is it's mostly with vacant, unencumbered land, meaning there's no mortgages to pay off or anything like that. And these people are posting these properties on Facebook and on Craigslist, and buyers are calling them and saying, hey, I really want to buy this property. And I mean, you do the best you can when there's a mail away closing, but if you've got someone that you never speak to in person, you never see in person, you may say, well, the documents are notarized. People are faking notaries too. I mean, anything that's on paper can be faked. And so we have several steps that we implement to try to keep that from happening. That's why it's so important to get with a reputable title company, have a title search done, have someone that's going through those processes. If we ever have one, if it's a vacant property, seller's out of state, no one's ever met the seller before, we send a verification letter to the mailing address that the tax assessor has stating, hey, someone has reached out to us about closing on your property for you. Let us know if this is you or not. We've gotten to where when it is a mail away, we don't let the seller use their own notary. We say, you're going to use a notary provided by us out of our network. And, as real estate agents and just as the general public, I mean, do your due diligence. Ask them for a state driver's license, then compare that, make sure that it looks like a legitimate driver's license. If they're hesitant to talk to you on the phone, that's a huge red flag. If they're just emailing you, and there's red flags to look for on those emails too. Kindly is one of the biggest keywords that they use. Incorrect spelling, bad grammar, and we're in Alabama.
I'm buying a house for my mom.
Well, there's a lot of people here that have bad grammar that aren't necessarily fraudsters.
Yeah.
But the more diligent you are and aware and on the lookout, and the biggest thing that I tell all the agents I work with is trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, there's a reason, and let's all work together to figure out what that feeling is coming from and if there's a reason for it.
Right.
Well, and once you, it's so hard because you could have a situation that it really is a potential client. It just looks iffy because they don't know what they're doing or they don't know what they're asking for or whatever. But if you ask enough questions and you go through the process, like I just talked to one and I knew from the beginning that he was not buying his mother a house. But I played along. He sent me some houses. He was looking for her in Nashville, which I said I can't service that anyway, but I would be glad to, get you an agent in that area. So I kind of went along with it. And so they always ask how long you've been in business. When you get towards the end, they always ask you that question. And then when it got ready, I said, well, there are some things that is required by law. Alabama Real Estate Commission has laws we have to follow. And I'm going to send you an email with a list of those items that I'm going to need. If you want to move forward at that point, I will send everything. But I'm going to need 2 forms of ID copied and front and back and sent. You say all that, you don't hear back from them at all.
Yeah, but you can't be scared to ask those questions.
No, you have to, because it may be,
Right.
he may have turned around and sent me the information, and then we at least have information that we can verify from that point. So I think it's hard these days because you don't want to think everybody that seems like they don't know what they're doing is committing fraud.
But like I said, you
but
can,
you
can
have
ask
to-
those
yeah.
questions, and sometimes you have to be the one making it more difficult.
Yes.
But you can go home and sleep at night and know you
Right.
did the right thing. I had someone recently, they were selling some property here. Their mailing address was in Huntsville. They were a mail away, and they needed to sign in Florida. And so I asked the
Did you
agent,
do this circle
I asked the
of
agent,
what?
why are they signing in Florida? They're on family vacation. All right, well, they need to take a break from the beach and hop on a Zoom call with me.
Right.
And I hate to be
Yeah.
that one being inconvenient, but the fact of the matter is you're selling a house. It's a big deal. You can take the time to do it right, and anyone that's going to get mad at you for making
Right.
you go through the proper steps, typically there's something wrong there.
First of all, if you started the process to sell your house, hopefully someone explained to you what that process would be and the timelines that it could fall into. And you bring up that time, say, listen, I've had a family vacation, and I've had somebody tell me that before. I have a family vacation planned. We've had it planned forever. I can't do anything in this week. So, okay, fine. So when you go to accept a contract or whatever, you're either going to close before they go or you're not closing till
Right.
they get back. It's
Right.
not like I had an agent come to me a couple of days ago and say, no, they need to do it right here, right now. And I said, well, why? Or they can't. And I said, well, why? Why can't they? There's different ways to do this. And so it ended up that their schedules were just crazy. But there's way to get loans closed.
Most people have crazy schedules.
Everybody does.
But like I said, when you're buying or selling a house, it's not like you're just taking off to take a long lunch. It's a big deal, and you got to make time for it.
Well, not only that, asking those questions, God forbid something does come through and it is some kind of fraud, you can show the steps of, hey, I did this.
Yeah. And a lot of times, you run into situations and it's not even intentional. It's not someone trying to commit fraud. We see people all the time. My mama left the house to me. Great. How did she leave the house to you? Was it the will? I mean,
Are you the last man standing?
I took care of her while she was sick, and every day she told me how thankful she was for me and that she wanted me to have the house.
Well,
Okay,
we
great.
ain't writing.
Did she have a will? No. You got any brothers or sisters? Yeah. And, that's another thing that I hate that, because Mama probably did want them to have the house. Does that mean that under the eyes of the law, they have the right to sell that house to you? No. And for you as the buyer, you're probably going to hurt some feelings. I've made some people mad trying to get them to jump through hoops to do things the right way when they just know that, this house was left to me. This was supposed to be my house. And that's why, especially for the people out there that are calling listings on Facebook, calling these for sale by owner signs in the yard, you got to do your due diligence and make sure that who is selling that house has the right to. And like I said, not just think they have the right to, but actually have that authority.
You need to make sure that the survey is correct and all these different things, because I'm telling you, there's been several where they bought the house and blah, 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 blah. And nope, it's not. It's actually 5 acres. It's actually 3 acres. Yeah, there's a lot to go into it.
Yeah.
So what's the most recent story around fraud that you've had, situation?
Give us a horror story.
So there was a local attorney's office, and a developer in the area had called and said, found some vacant land that I want to develop. How quick can you close it for me? Here's the seller's contact information. Cash deal, there were no payoffs, and that's another red flag to look out. I know that when there's cash involved, everyone wants to move real quick, and I get that, but a lot of times when you have people trying to create a sense of urgency, that's another red flag. This was, let's close it just as quick as we possibly can. Seller was a mail away, not coming to closing. No one had ever met the seller in person. The closing attorney sent the docs to him, printed off, got them notarized, overnighted the originals back, and along with his wiring instructions. They closed, wired the money, and it was not the actual seller. And the wire went off to another country, and
You ain't getting it back.
you ain't getting it back.
Wow.
And what's funny is another buddy of his that's also a developer came running into my office the next day and was like, "Do you hear what happened to my buddy? How do I keep this from happening to me? What do I need to do?" And, first thing is make sure you're getting title insurance. And is this an instance where I need to pay extra for an enhanced policy? I've got a client right now that we know there's a mechanic's lien on the property, meaning the owner had work done on the property that he didn't pay for.
Right.
So the person that did the work turned around and filed a lien on the property. And if you pay extra and get an enhanced coverage, mechanic liens are going to be covered. Well, I called my client and I said, "Hey, we know this mechanic's lien. We're going to pay it off and we're going to get it satisfied. But chances are there could be something else floating around out there that hasn't been recorded yet. You need to invest in the enhanced policy." And, that's not me trying to upsell. And it's, you gotta look at it and think, I'm spending this much money on a property. It's worth it for me to spend a little bit more at closing, which, in all honestly, when you look at all of your closing costs, it's a drop in the bucket.
Yep.
But it's very important. And like I said, you're paying that one time at closing. And
And it covers the life of it.
yep.
Is there you talk about things that can pop up, liens and different kinds of things. Is there a timeline on a mechanic's lien that,
So, for most liens and judgments, the initial filing is for 10 years, and then they can be refiled for another 10 years.
Wow, so 20 years. You didn't pay me to paint your house, and it's going to take me 20 years to get my money, right?
Yep. And
Well, that house is going to be sold several times in that 20 years.
yeah, and it's you can have liens from prior owners that attach to properties, and then if you're dealing with an estate,
Oh, that one's really a tricky one.
heirs liens and judgments can attach to that property. We were dealing with an estate property one time, and one of the heirs had $10,000 in tax liens against him, and everyone in that family hated me because one brother is making us pay $10,000 extra. This was Mama's house. Why is his $10,000 tax lien affecting us?
That happened with my mom. Her uncle passed away, and same scenario. One of the people down the line had issues like that and held everybody up.
Yep. But if you're not doing things the right way and you're not getting a title search, you're not working with a title company, you think, I'm working with the personal representative of the estate. They've shown me the will. They have the authority to sell this property. You're not getting the other heirs searched. You're not going through the whole process of making sure that everything's done right. So, very, very important, no matter what whoever's selling the property tells you to make you comfortable with. I'm the only owner. It's been in the family for 50 years. No one's ever had a loan. Mama always paid in cash. She never got loans on anything.
Well, and this is one of those situations, too, and just about all of them that you spoke to, that it's very critical. You know, we talk on why it's important to have a qualified lender, have a qualified agent. We work with qualified title companies. The lender's going to work only with qualified title companies. If you've got people surrounded around you that is going to do that, can it still happen? Yeah. The chances are going to be a lot slimmer, because I know myself, and Hannah, you know, because I've sent this to you before. I mean, the minute I know that it's a family long list of whatever, I'm like, send me everything that you've got, and I send it straight to Hannah, and I go, nobody knows what they're doing with this.
Good luck, sweet cheeks.
You said that. Just tell us what this is. But this is a case where representation is so critical. And I still don't think the consumer totally understands some of that from the news. The news makes it sound like you don't need, you know?
I will say that there are certain things out there that I don't think you need. A lot of people are asking about the commercials they see, title lock, how if fraud were to happen, it locks your title, and that
It's just,
it is a service that's provided, but it's a monitoring service, and
Right.
it notifies you after fraud has happened.
Right.
So it's not
Doesn't
preventing fraud from happening.
Yeah.
So if that's something you want to spend your money on, that's fine, but don't get in your mind it's the same as a owner's title policy, and that any sort of front end research or anything's being done to prevent fraud. It's just going to notify you of it.
So if there is a mechanic's lien and the house has been sold 5, 6, 7 times, who is it that's going to be, they're going to come after? The current owner, or all the past owners, or the original owner? Is it just the current owner? Or?
So it's attached to that property. So if the current owner wants to sell that house free from any liens or encumbrances, they're going to have to address that. Now, can they go to court and sue whoever the original mechanic's lien was against? Yeah, but does that person have money? It's going to
They
take
even
time.
alive anymore?
Are they alive? Yeah. So, I mean, it's attached to your property. So you as the homeowner, you know, can they come and specifically file a lawsuit against you? Probably not, but it is attached to your property and is affecting your marketability.
Good to know. Not that I have that issue. I said it's good to know.
We didn't think that.
I didn't think it was you.
Not me.
Well, all right. Well, I think that is another wrap. So thank you so much, Hannah, the
Thank you,
guru,
ladies.
for having
And Nick.
and Nick.
Yep.
Thank y'all.
Thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Your Neighbor, Your Agents. Please visit www.yourneighboryouragents.com.